I've got a video and I don't really know what it's about. It's from Bellular News, and this is like probably one of my favorite gaming news channels. They cover news, but in like deep dives and not like breaking news, just like kind of like the bigger, deeper cuts. And this one titled "Valve Did It: Massive SteamOS Expansion is Official." I don't know what that means, but all I know is Valve has been killing it lately. So I figured we would learn about it together as a team, see what it's all about.
Future. So here's the deal. One handheld is clearly not enough for Valve. This doesn't mean a new Steam Deck. What it means is the launch of the SteamOS powered Lenovo Legion Go S.
So I don't know if you guys heard this, but Xbox, their handheld has got delayed to 2027 when it was supposed to be coming out next year. So interesting timing.
And that means Valve are already looking to the future. What happens beyond that device? They are thinking about every third-party device that can run SteamOS. And that's real big. What they're thinking about is the user experience problems that have kind of made Linux struggle. What Valve basically needs is users to feel confident that the games they buy will actually run and run without frustration. So what they've done is come up with a traditionally Valve way of solving the problem. They're basically setting new standards for the store. And this is the beginning of a wider rollout.
So they've been doing this for a while, like with little things like refunds and dictating what companies can do with DLC and not, and lying about it. They've been kind of like the angel on the shoulder of the gaming community for a while.
That I think will take us to exciting places. Here it is, SteamOS Compatible. This is a new label for any game that Valve has confirmed will run in SteamOS alongside any required middleware. So basically, regardless of device, if you run SteamOS and you see that logo, the idea is you're good. Now, it doesn't replace Steam Deck Verified, rather it's alongside that, and it'll be handled as a part of the same verification process that Valve has already got. Deck-compatible games will automatically get the SteamOS badge, which pretty much makes sense. Those are games that
Does this not sound like they're doing something? Okay, I have a theory with this. I'm gonna like hear this out, but I have a theory with what is going on with this. You'll see when we get deeper into this, but it goes alongside with what Xbox is doing with their handheld and console, and I think it probably about halfway through this video you'll see
already been running
what I'm
through
saying.
Proton for ages now. But what we're talking about here is new PC hardware, not just the Steam Deck. Now, of course, as I'm sure you've felt, performance is not a binary pass-fail, but this is. You either have the new badge or you don't. So the perhaps bad news here, though really it would be more than Valve could really handle, Valve are not talking about how a game runs. They're not talking about performance. That's outside of the scope here. This is a yes or a no. Will it run in SteamOS? Will it not? Basically, it's a little bit like how you get the Mac badge if a game is compatible on Mac. Though on top of that, there's a little extra context, like if you need an internet connection or a mouse input during the initial
So
set.
as he talks about this, I want you to think of one thing, and that one thing is why. So if they already have the badges that show it runs on Mac, it runs on Steam Deck, and it runs on PC or Windows, sorry. Why would they start introducing one that shows that it's SteamOS compatible? Why? Like just keep that up there for a second.
Up. That's as far as this feature goes for now, but the real big news is that it is just the beginning. Valve said that this is just the first step. It's a future that could disrupt gaming. That's why this is designed to be future-proof, because whatever devices or hardware config SteamOS is installed on in the future, Valve are setting up their storefront so that they can sell you a product for it. They cannot guarantee it will run well. Like literally, they cannot do that, so they're not trying to do that, but they can guarantee that it will run. Because, much like everything that Valve does, this is about building a self-sustaining system. And it's the thinking, right? Thinking like this is a major part of their astounding revenue per employee. Like literally, Valve are one of the most efficient businesses at scale on planet Earth. So why hire?
They do not have a lot of employees. I don't think this is a commonly known thing, but they do not have a lot of employees at all.
Legions and legions of people when you can just build a system that puts the onus onto devs to use and users to then enforce. Because something that Valve haven't really mentioned here is something that's been a bit of a concern with Steam Deck verification. What happens when something breaks? The good news is that thanks to deck verification, we've already got a real good idea of how this is going to be rolled out. So per Valve, right, there are a few reasons why they would re-review a game that has already been marked as deck compatible. Two of them are on Valve, right? So one is if there's a new version of Proton, the other is if Valve have changed their testing system. But the other stuff, that is on devs and on users. So as an example, say a dev adds an anti-cheat system or maybe a launcher in a way that SteamOS just cannot interface with. That is on a developer to get right and on users to call out. And we've seen a clear example of this in the form of Apex Legends, because when they ended Linux support, they earned many negative reviews. Now, if they didn't tell Valve, those negative reviews would have alerted everybody. But thankfully, they did tell Valve. Valve removed the verified status. And for Valve, that is as good as automation gets, at least right now. I'm sure Gabe will cook up some crazy AI agent.
So that explains like the how the system currently works, right? Like what he's explaining there is how the verified for different, so for example, say a game broke on Windows, it would lose, the reviews would go in, it would get checked, and then it would remove that badge saying this game works on Windows. Now, it pretty much needs to work on Windows in order to be on Steam, but I think you understand what's going on there. But just keep that in mind.
Sure. It'll totally
because
work.
I think this is for a whole separate reason than what he's saying so far.
Is users who have paid for a product that they can no longer run. But again, from Valve's perspective, that's kind of the
this is going to be the part.
If they put their game on Valve's platform, they're subject to Valve's user complaints. And we'll get back to that because it's core, it's classic Valve, and for this one, the stakes are high. At least if you, like me, want viable gaming OS options that don't come from Microsoft. Proactive or reactive? That's the big question here. Because whenever Valve is proactively future-proofing something, right, building a big system to
So this is exactly it. Keep this in mind. Why would they be future-proofing this? Why would they be building out this OS? Like, what is this for?
For years, the results tend to be really quite good, or at least better than when they reactively try to protect themselves. And we've had two examples of that recently, two changes announced within the last year: generative AI warnings and their new accessibility system. And these are actually really cool. So the latter is an example of Steam building a system that is genuinely awesome and that works for everybody. There's a new questionnaire, right? So devs will basically do the questionnaire and they'll pick fixed tags. And this is for tools like subtitling, controller inversion, even adjustable difficulty, stuff like that. Now, what this means for you as a customer, right, is that you get to see a tag on a store page that will confirm if those features are present. And even better than that, because it's tags, you can just search for those tags and you can find games that suit your needs. So if you've got whatever form of disability, yeah, great, you can now use those tags. If you say don't want to play a game in your TV with tiny subtitles, well, now you'll be warned ahead of time. That's actually good. And what works here is it's a discrete data set built from explicit criteria. There's no ambiguity. It's clearly defined. And that makes it inherently consumer friendly because you, as the consumer friendly, have all the information in front of you. And if somebody cocks that up, it's probably the developer, well, making a mistake or being dishonest. Now we can contrast that with how Valve reacted to the influx, the torrent of generative AI slop that flopped its way on.
By the way, if Steam didn't do this, things would have gotten so much worse. Steam doing what they did with this was the best thing that could have happened.
Steam, and I'm sure you remember that with Steam Next Fest and the just ridiculous situation in the store for the first few days. Now that system has proven to be a lot less useful, likely because Valve basically saw pissed off users and did something real hasty. Basically, Valve needed to make sure the devs were responsible for the legal risk on their store pages, and they did that seemingly without much thought for, you know, the wider way that Steam works. And I mean that quite literally. Steam's AI tags are
I love that they put Black Ops 6 in here.
Not data in the same way that the accessibility tags are. Instead, they're just a text disclosure field, and that actually causes problems because it makes games like Call of Duty equivalent to Face Miner. These games are very much not the same. Now, we know the former has AI-generated assets, but the latter, the indie game, is itself a piece of art, a statement saying the game is about generative AI without featuring it. but in Steam's database, they're held as being equivalent, and that does not help customers. It's basically giving Valve something to hold up as a shield whenever somebody accuses a product that they sell of plagiarism, so that they are protected. So, why have I went in this tangent? Well, actually for a very, very good reason. These things are a perfect example of Valve being peak Valve in a really good way, and then in a less good way. And that is going to matter in the future. What's good is the SteamOS changes are basically Valve doing things in a good way. That's Valve.
So they didn't mess that up, Andrew. So the thing with the generative AI is at the very least, like that is a very specific circumstance. Like the game itself is about generative AI. Now, if you used Black Ops 3, for example, if they recreated that campaign, they could use that campaign as a shield to say, we don't have AI in our game. It's just about AI, right? Like that's where, like, it's almost like a loophole.
At their best, and it matters.
But
it matters.
You release a Cold War or a Gulf War game, and it says AI has been used in this game, or AI is in this game, or this game is about AI. You know that AI is generative AI to be used for art and shit like that. It's just like that one loophole, that very specific situation.
Because while Valve does run a good store, what we now need to see is
It's
how
vague.
good Valve
Vague is the
runs
best way to
a
like put that.
platform.
Yeah.
And that is a fundamentally different thing, not only just for you and me and our experience, but also how Valve are treated, perhaps even regulated as a company. Okay, we've reached the big exciting bit. What we're now entering is a new era.
Yes. This is the part that I wanted to talk about. Large drink of water for a small sip. That's not what the saying is, but it's close to that. This is the interesting part, and I've got a huge take on this
For
part.
Valve. It's one they maybe wanted to be in before with Steam machines, but that didn't work. Now we're here, and they have a true shot. What we've also seen, though, is monopoly arguments for years made against Valve, and that includes in ongoing court cases. We don't know how those cases will go.
And this is going to get worse.
Mean that Valve just maintains a store, despite the fact that they're seen by many people as the de facto platform to play games. And from a regulatory perspective, that really does matter, even to you, because it'll change, the rules of the game, right? The game that Valve is playing as a company. Now, this matters not just because of drama, but because there is a true goddamn opportunity here. For years and years and years, I've been pissed off with Windows, and I know many of you have been pissed off with Windows as well. Just look at this video that we did, right? This was covering SteamOS moving to a non-Valve console, just like the initial sort of launch and talk about that. And the bloody thing went massive in YouTube. There is a hunger. I mean, you've got PewDiePie installing Arch Linux, Mudahar talking about similar, more people talking about Linux. It's pretty damn clear, especially with some of the, Windows 10 users not exactly being happy right now.
So here's the problem, though. For 98, we'll go 98% of people, Linux is too complicated. It just is, right? So that is where this comes in.
People want an alternative. Valve are well placed to be that alternative, but that opens them up to new problems, because the more that Valve isn't just a store, the more scrutiny they will be under. The sorts of scrutiny that we've covered with, say, Epic and Apple recently. So right now, their install base is small. Like, there's millions of Steam Decks out there, but it's tiny compared to how many people play in Windows. And even though I'm not talking about desktop yet, we're talking about third-party handheld manufacturers, well, third-party will mean more competition. Competition's a hell of a thing. That will drive up adoption. That will mean more devs will support that stuff properly.
Okay. All right. Listen, here's my theory, okay? This is the theory. So hear what he's talking about. SteamOS is an operating system. Steam Deck works with it, but they want to rock this not just on Steam Deck, but on other handhelds. We know Xbox is making a handheld. The rumor is with the new Xbox console and the new Xbox handheld, they want to have Steam on them. Now, he's talking about this whole monopoly thing, right? I feel like I should be wearing the tinfoil hat for this, honestly. But the whole monopoly thing going on. If they launch this OS, they're going to be under scrutiny for owning basically the rights to everyone's game distribution, as well as the OS that it's on. That's when you get the monopoly claims. But if you put SteamOS on these handhelds and then also have Game Pass on the handhelds, then they can argue that they don't have a monopoly, because you can now play games on Steam and on Game Pass on through that operating system. And this is also what I think Xbox wants to do, to have Steam on all of theirs. And that's how they're going to try to push PlayStation out of the market, because so many people are on Steam. If I can sit at my computer here and have my Steam account and play a game on here, and then I want to get into bed and I want to lay there and I want to play Balatro in bed, and I have a console hooked up to my TV in bed that has the same Steam account, and then I go to the doctor's office and have an hour wait, and then have an Xbox or Steam handheld, and everything can be run through Steam and Game Pass, and one of them is a subscription service, and one of them is where you buy your games. Boom. That's what they're going for. That's truly what I believe that they're going for. And the way that I think they're going to non-monopolize themselves is what you were seeing on screen right here, is Game Pass on all of this stuff too. It's a conspiracy theory, but it's interesting.
Well, again, right now, this is framed around handhelds. That won't always be the case. SteamOS Desktop could happen. It is on the cards. In that world, what will the new consoles be priced as? And again, in that world, will people think, oh, I'd rather get a PC with that money instead? And if it's for gaming, well, maybe I can get one with SteamOS. It's an amazing opportunity for Valve. And where they have every incentive to make it fantastic, Microsoft quite simply does not. I mean, Microsoft growing out.
But do you hear what he keeps saying there? Because remember how I said Game Pass and Steam and being on the same thing? Well, if you're making an OS, who are you competing with? Windows. Who's Windows? Microsoft. So if they're partnered together on something but against each other on another thing, that ruins the monopoly idea. Do you see what I'm saying?
Xbox is good, but Windows is an increasingly bloated operating system that is great at frustrating users, and well, their actions show that they're not really that competent when it comes to fixing those problems. Valve don't have to make money with OneDrive or, Copilot Enterprise. They make money from us buying games. That aligns our incentives. That means that Valve is better positioned than anyone to make the ultimate, best gaming operating system. And unlike some small little startup company or some other person in the space, Valve have data. They have billions and billions and billions of data points. They truly are in a unique position to make the ultimate gaming OS. And as much as one could easily see anti-competitive lawsuits in the future, well, just look at the operating system breakdowns. Windows is dominant.
See, this is what I was talking about.
If I could do anything, it would be this. It would be to put Gabe Valve and Tim Apple in a room and not let them out until Mac Proton is a thing. But anyway, that's basically the news. Valve are making SteamOS on third-party hardware official. Not only that, with the ROG Ally, the ROG Ally Go S, whatever, device names are stupid, they're now making a system that will be there for every handheld device. I think it's pretty clear that's only the start. At one point, we know that strategically Valve wanted to do Steam machines. And if you weren't there at the time, it was basically PCs that would...
So the rumor is, what he's about to explain right now is what Xbox is working on.
Be like running, Steam Big Picture in the format of a console. Valve wanted to attack the living room television. And so my question for you is, where do you think they will go next? Do you think they go desktop, or do you think they try to go under your living room television? Let me know what you think.
I think they do both. I think what ends up happening is, I don't think Steam wants to make the console. I think they want Steam, the platform, like the actual place where you go to buy your games, to be on consoles. Not their console, on consoles. Because that's what they do best. They do where you buy games. Now, will it happen? I don't know, but I think that's what they're trying for.
This is a massive opportunity. I think that's pretty much obvious. I hope it happens. With that said, though, I think you should watch this video next, because, man, the news really is spicy.
Because it really will impact you. But yeah, it's interesting nonetheless. And Steam has done huge things for the game industry since the very beginning. And I hated Steam at the very beginning. It made running games more difficult. Now, everything is just so much easier with it. So we'll see where it goes. But I don't think they make a console. I think they somehow try to leech off of the next Xbox and be able to have your Steam library on it. But because with the rumor of Steam's or Xbox next console being essentially a PC hooked up to a TV, it would make a lot of sense.